shirts all soaked with sweat. They ride hard to catch that herd, but they ain't caught 'em yet. Oh, they got to ride forever on the range up in the sky. Horses run wild as they all hear their cry. Still on fire and their hoofs are made of steel. Their horns are black and shiny and they're hot ready to feed. A bolt of fear went through them as they thumped them through, trying to catch that devil across the endless sky. Yippee-yahoo!
Hello, my name is Bill Bennett, and I'm associate at Master Engraver in Fort Worth, Texas. And we're here today with Ron to discuss some of the information and knowledge and experience to learn from him about lettering for the engraver. Our purpose, we'll let Ron tell us, but first of all, I'd like to let you know that I'm a student just as you. You may be a professional and done this for many years, but you'll find that there's information here of great value that has been learned by years of experience, approximately 25 or 26 years of experience with jewelry lettering, jewelry work, all the different things that an engraver must be able to do as far as lettering is concerned. So Ron is here today, and we'd like to talk to him. You'll find that as we go through this tape, you will see me as the student and Ron as the teacher. I'd like to ask the questions that you ask. I would like to be able to put myself into your shoes, and this will be very simple because many of the things that he'll present will be new to me, and I'll be able to ask the questions of how do I do this. Also, he will be able to show me how to do lettering. Then I will try to do the lettering, and he will do the corrections of my mistakes and show me where I did well, how I did poorly, and the things I can do to make the corrections. So Ron, if you'd come in at this time and have a seat, we'll discuss lettering for the engraver. Ron Smith, Fort Worth, Texas.
Thank you, Bill.
Hi. Well, Ron, the first thing I'd like to know, we've talked about doing videotapes for a number of months now. This particular tape that you've endeavored to do is on in lettering for the engraver. What is the purpose of this, as you see it, for the engraver, someone that's desiring to become an engraver or already knows how to engrave?
Well, in my experience, I've found that a lot of young engravers have a fear of lettering. And it's my intention to try to relieve this fear and to show them a way that lettering can be done. Many of the younger engravers do superbly accurate work, and there's not any reason why they can't do engraving, lettering, just as well. It's simply a matter of procedure. And this is what we're going to try to do, is teach procedures for doing accurate lettering.
As far as the tape itself goes, I know this is going to be somewhat of a home production. The purpose of it would be to provide something that would be economical on a person's budget, as well as, we've talked about this in the past, that we could provide information. So I think, as you'll see, we don't have a lot of wonderful lights, but we do have capability of presenting the information that you wanted to present.
Well, of course, I feel like that the knowledge is the most important thing, and hopefully we can present the knowledge in an adequate manner, even though we haven't got expensive equipment. And I think that many people see the value of the knowledge as we get on into this and what they can learn from it, rather than having a professional production.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the attributes of an engraver that wants to do lettering? Are there certain things about his personality that he has to have to do well in engraving and lettering?
Not any more so than an ornamental engraver. Makes mostly just dedication. Part of the character of an engraver is dedication and determination, stick to it type personality, where he won't let something get the best of him. Again, mostly all this is procedures, and once you learn the procedures, you can adapt your cutting skills. If you've acquired some, if you haven't, you can apply them when you do acquire the skills. And but this will allow these people that are afraid to try lettering, or that have tried it and have failed at it, an opportunity to apply their cutting skills and do lettering with confidence.
Well, Ron, what will be the topics of discussion during this tape series in lettering for the engraver?
Okay, Bill, what we're going to cover in this tape is the tools required for layout, general lettering procedures, specific lettering procedures, determining styles and techniques, cutting techniques, taking in work, and error correction.
Well, sounds like we've got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll start right now with tools required for layout, and we'll begin there, and we'll be ready to go.
Okay, we'll take pictures of some of the tools required, and I'll try to explain them as we go along, their uses and how they will be applied to layout.
Well, Ron, I see the first thing you got there's a lead holder or a mechanical pencil.
Yes, those you can buy at office supply. They're drafting pencils, and you buy lead to insert into the end of the pencil. It slides up into the barrel, and as you sharpen it down, well, you can pull it out a little at a time, and you can get very sharp points with this type of pencil, providing you have the right type of sharpening device. And this is necessary in good layout. You need a very sharp point.
Is there any specific lead that you use for that, or?
Well, generally 2H to 4H leads are adequate. You don't want a hard lead because it will scratch the article that you're working on. You want a fairly soft lead that will not damage the surface of the fine silver plating or whatever you might be engraving on.
Okay.
The type of sharpener that you use to sharpen these leads, and you sharpen them within the pencil and the lead are together, and you just stick the pencil down in the hole of the sharpener and turn it around in a circular motion, and it sharpens the lead to a very sharp point. These also you can buy in office supply stores, and they're made exactly for the purpose of sharpening the drafting pencils.
Okay, well, what's next then?
Okay, you'll need a some various kinds of rulers. I recommend plastic clear ruler. This allows you to be able to see your layout through the ruler, where you can do parallel lines quite easily. Or another pretty handy item is a eraser template, which is used for typewriting, and you use it to erase lettering on a typewriter. It comes with several different size slots, and it's made of metal, and these slots are just about the right size for very small lettering, which is probably 75% of the type of work that you'd be doing.
Okay, these plastic rulers here now, how long are they?
You can buy the little 6-inch lined graduated plastic rulers that you can see through, and if they don't have lines on them, many times I'll take that ruler and scribe parallel lines at varying widths, so that I'll have a variety of widths of line that I can use in my layout.
Mm-hmm. As far as, do you use centimeters, or do you use inches, or do you like it very fine, or do you even use the
Rarely ever use the inch scales or the centimeter scales. The main purpose is just for the parallel lines, to be able to lay out parallel lines and have an index for those parallel lines. If you go to trying to guess about laying two lines side by side parallel, you're going to get it narrow at one end and wider at the other. So it's better to have these rulers lined parallel to the edge. In other words, I'll have a series of lines running parallel to the edge of this at varying widths,
mm-hmm.
and then I can lay that over the article that I'm engraving on,
Mm-hmm.
and I can do parallel lines very accurately.
I have seen one of your rulers. It came that way, didn't it? It was made
Yes.
with parallel lines.
It's got grids
lines
on it, actually. It's little squares, and
Okay.
it's very handy for that. You can find those generally at the office supplies also.
Okay.
One of the other things that will be necessary is a scriber, which is you can get a variety of these. This particular one here, you buy at a jewelry supply store. Some of your local jewelry supplies will have them, or you can send off for them. This has a steel tip at one end and a rubber tip at the other. And the rubber tip allows you to be able to lay out without scratching an article, and it's got a very sharp point, and it's kind of a hard rubber, not a real flexible rubber. And then after you get your design applied with that rubber tip, you can switch to the steel end and scribe it on there permanently, where it won't rub off in the process of engraving. And then we have a double end scriber here. Some of the best scribers have carbide tips on them, which are very durable and will cut almost anything. You can even scribe on glass with them. And then there are diamond tipped scribes also that you can buy. You can kind of pick and choose. It's not too critical as to what type of a scriber you have.
It's important to have them very sharp.
No, depending on what you're doing, if you're going to do scrimshaw or that sort of thing on ivory, well, yes, it is. They've got to be very sharp for that. But we're in the process of scribing letters or monograms and that sort of thing onto a metal surface. You want one that will glide over the surface fairly easy. So it's not so necessary that your lettering scriber has to be that sharp. It's better that it have kind of a little rounded point, so it will go in any direction without catching or dragging on the metal.
Okay.
Another thing that's really helpful is to have a oval and a circle template, and these you can also buy in office supply stores. Use these for your basic layouts for monograms, in your multiple letter monograms or your single letter monograms, and we will show you later how you can build monograms within these circles. This helps you to locate center of articles. They have lines designating the center of the circles and the ovals, and you can use these to find the center of a article which doesn't have any regular boundaries, which has irregular edges a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Some of the other things that you might need, and these will be primarily for laying on the actual article guidelines, and in some cases it would be where you need, like on a Paul Revere bowl or on a goblet, drinking glass, a drinking goblet. you'll have to have a series of parallel lines to the rim, and in that case it's handy to have a pair of dividers or a compass you need two of these. One of them would be with two steel tips, and one pair would be with a steel tip and a pencil. And you would take and draw parallel lines to the edge of the goblet with this type of arrangement, which is very handy.
To the edge of the goblet, you mean, like you said a while ago, the rim, the top
The top rim, yes. You can. I've adapted my dividers with a pencil on them to where I have like on this particularly, I'll have a little flange built onto that divider to where I can rest it on the rim, and this other will have a pencil in it, and I can go around the rim of that glass and leave a parallel line to the rim.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also very good for laying out parallel lines on square plates and things. If you want a series of parallel lines for your layout on a trophy plate, for instance, where you can take one edge of your dividers and go use the edge of the plate as a boundary and go along that plate and draw your parallel lines by increasing the width of your dividers.
Okay, on this one, just like on your drawing pencil, your mechanical pencil, you'd probably use the same type of lead, the 2H or 4H lead.
Soft lead. It would be just a normal soft lead pencil. You don't have to use your drafting pencil in it, but I have just a soft lead pencil that I'll put in the other side of the dividers. And
okay, so that way it doesn't scratch the surface of
right.
what you're working on. Okay.
In order to get your design onto the surface of the metal, the way we do that is we've got what we call transfer wax. It's a combination of beeswax and petroleum-based product. It makes it rather tacky, and you touch it with your finger and apply it onto the surface of the article that you're going to engrave on, and it leaves a film of tacky wax on the surface. Then you take just normal bathroom talcum powder and dust that onto the surface, and the wax holds the powder. And this system will allow you to be able to draw through the powder to where you can see your lines very clearly, and you can also repair whatever errors you've made slightly, dusting a little new powder on there, and will not entirely cover up your lines, but you can see them well enough to correct them. But the new lines that you put on there will be very clear and obvious.
Okay, what do you use to put the powder onto the wax? Do you have a...
I use just a regular soft paintbrush. Just a hobby paintbrush is fine. It needs to be kind of fluffy though and soft, not stiff.
Mm-hmm.
And it will deposit a very fine film of talcum powder, and of course you blow off the excess and you have a film of talcum powder over wax, and it makes for a very good drawing surface.
Okay, now you lay out both the guidelines and the lettering through the powder and wax combination.
That's right.
Okay.
And if you make mistakes in your spacing of your lines or anything, you can just dust a little powder over that and go back and redraw your lines. You can see your old lines, but your new lines are so visible that you won't hardly pay any attention to it. The only time your talcum powder system begins to get confusing is when you've dusted it several times and you made several mistakes and you get an awful lot of lines on there and it starts creating confusion. It's a good way to make errors. So it's better just to wipe it off and start all over again in that case.
Okay, what's the next thing that we need to look at?